Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, designated under Section 3 of the Disaster Management Act of 2002, Act number 57 of 2002, having declared a national state of disaster, published in Government Gazette, number 43364 on the 28th of May 2020, hereby in terms of Section 27, 2 of the Disaster Management Act of 2002, after consultation with the relevant cabinet members, published the regulations. In the said published regulation, I'm empowered by Regulation 371, subsection E, read with 39.2, subsection B, to issue direction after consultation with Minister Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, Minister Ronald Lamula, Minister Zweli Mkhize. The purpose of these directions is to, 1, prescribe temporary measures or steps currently necessary to manage COVID-19 in order to reduce its impact in the Republic by preventing the importation of and minimizing the local transmission of COVID-19. And 2, allow professional, non-contact sport to host sports events without spectators and professional athletes to train irrespective to whether it is contact or non-contact sport in a staggered way. So what this means is that the process of training would actually resume in sport generally, both for contact and non-contact sport. The direction seeks to provide for measures in combating the spread of COVID-19 virus by opening up certain non-contact sport matches to take place during the Alert Level 3 regulations and training of sports athletes irrespective of the type of sport codes as follows. All sporting, arts, cultural and religious events organized or held in a stadium or venue as defined in Section 1 of the Safety at Sport and Recreational Events Act of 2010, Act number 2 of 2010, are prohibited except religious gatherings at a faith-based institution whereby not more than 50 people are in attendance, and professional non-contact sporting events for the purpose of preparation, major multi-coded sport events, international championships, national championships, local leagues at club, provincial, national level, excluding combat sport until the minister directs otherwise or the national state of disaster terminates, whichever occurs first. On resumption of non-contact sport and training, sport grounds, fields, and swimming pools for non-contact sport and training for professional athletes may resume in compliance with the health protocol without any spectators. All sport bodies must, within 14 days after the publication of these directions, inform the minister in writing as to the date of resumption and further provide an operational guideline, including a guarantee in the form of affidavits related to the testing of all officials before resumption for training and matches. So it's not automatic. You think you are ready, you within 14 days of the published directions, you then write to the minister and you explain your story. in a clear way. All sports bodies and professional clubs must develop and implement policies and procedures for their workforce conduct tracing following employee COVID-19 test. All sport bodies and professional clubs must ensure that athletes and their support staff be subjected to quarantine for 14 days pending the test results. Only determined non-contact professional sport may resume matches after compliance with all provisions of this direction as per Annexure 1. Here we're, for now, talking about professional sport, because here we have a chance and capacity to monitor. It's not open for everybody at this stage. As we said, that we are following a staggered approach in opening of the matches. Transportation of all athletes, players, support staff must comply with transport directions issued by the Minister of Transport. On the testing and screening of players and support staff, 1. Any professional athletes and support staff who test positive may not be allowed to train or participate in any training or matches. 2. All officials, including players, athletes, match officials, support staff, journalists, and television crew, including radio commentators, must be subjected to temperature screening before they enter the venue or stadium. 3. Any person with suspected high temperature may not be allowed to enter the venue or stadium. 4. Resumption of non-contact sport training and matches in areas declared as hotspots by the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs upon recommendation by a cabinet member responsible for health and in consultation with cabinet is prohibited. On sanitation of the training field, the stadium, sports grounds, fields, dressing rooms, and other facilities within the precinct of the stadium must be sanitized before any resumption of training and matches. 2. The chosen facility must be subjected to a thorough cleaning and disinfecting process prior to the arrival of any support staff and players, following the advice issued by the health authorities and the relevant professionals. 3. The venue owner must ensure that specific areas and equipment that come into frequent direct contact with individuals, including but not limited to doorknobs, door bars, door keypads, chairs, armrests, tabletops, light switches, handrails, toilet flush mechanisms, water taps, elevator buttons, medical treatment beds and surfaces, gym equipment, all equipment, machines, balls, keyboards, mice, touchscreen monitors, tablets, and trackpads are thoroughly cleaned even more frequently, where reasonably practical after each conduct. We now move on the control measures. All appropriate information must be displayed in prominent places within the facility. 2, there should be limit in the number of personnel in the stadium, change room, training area in any given time as far as reasonably practicable. Masks, as required by the health protocols, must be worn by all personnel entering the facilities, provided that the professional athletes shall not be required to wear masks when training or participating in matches. Only individual pre-packed meals with disposable drinking bottles are allowed in the facility. No person is allowed to share water bottle with any other person. The facilities, stadiums, sport grounds, field and venue must provide proper laundry facility. All doors must remain open where feasible to reduce contact and ensure adequate ventilation. A dedicated isolation area for use by any individual who exhibits symptoms of COVID-19 whilst at work or in training must be identified. Physical distancing during training must be encouraged and be observed. The following activities are prohibited: massages, physiotherapy, except for injured players, ice baths and saunas. The monitoring and compliance. Sports bodies or club must ensure that athletes, players and support staff before returning to training or playing should: 1. Give written confirmation to the COVID-19 compliance officer or nominated operational personnel that they are, to the best of their knowledge, currently free from COVID-19. They have not had any symptoms of COVID-19, such as high temperature or fever, a new continuous cough, or new unexplained shortness of breath in the 14 days immediately prior to the resumption of training or playing. They have not been in contact with a COVID-19 confirmed or suspected case in 14 days immediately prior to the resumption of training or playing. Or club or team medical personnel have taken all infection prevention measures with the addition of the appropriate personnel protective equipment when reviewing patients with suspected or confirmed COVID-19 in the 14 days immediately prior to the resumption of training or playing. Where available, provide written evidence of any relevant COVID-19 testing or immunization that has been validated and recommended by a recognized health practitioner or health facility to compliance officer, that they commit to abide by all the stipulated precautions. Also, ensure compliance with minimum standards, including the following: pre-match medical compliance, stadium compliance, team compliance, field base compliance, officials compliance, and league compliance. The department may deploy officials to monitor the compliance with the directions as and when the need arises. On the appointment of compliance officer, sport bodies or clubs must appoint compliant officers in writing before any resumption of training and matches to mitigate on the compliance with the regulation and the spread of COVID-19. These directions shall be public entities under the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture, including sports federations, sport clubs, the confederation, professional leagues, sport bodies, and events relating thereto. These draft directions will be presented to and considered by the legal and regulatory measures workstream of the net joints and subsequently forwarded to the Office of the Chief State Law Advisor of the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development for legal opinion. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Minister. I think we'll start with Ishmael on the lines for questions. Ishmael, are there any questions?
Thank you, DG. We don't have questions at the moment.
Thank you. Neba, what's up?
Yes, DG, we have one so far.
Okay.
It's from Chris van Vuren from International News Network, and he's asking, Minister, you entertained all organizations, but what about freelance crews in the AV and entertainment industry who are not affiliated to those organizations but constitute the majority of the trade? All of them who have been without income for the period and will be until we reach level 1.
Okay. Ishmael, still nothing? Then we can give to
Thanks,
Minister.
DG. We have a caller on the line.
Okay.
It's Tony from ENCA. Over to you, Tony.
Minister, just a few points to clarify. Firstly, can we not have a breakdown of the specific codes that are able to resume non-contact matches? And then secondly, just clarity as well. So are we saying that non-contact matches can begin, but non-contact training can also begin, or contact training rather can begin, but not with matches? So just clarity on that non-contact and contact training versus matches, please.
That's it. Thank you, Minister. Those are the 3 questions. You can respond also from there, but you can also come here. But I think it's better when you stand.
Good morning, Director General and the Minister of Sport, Arts and Culture. There are directives relating to freelancers, relating to arts and culture, and I'm sure we will also outline them. It does cover them. It covers areas of audiovisual, film, and what happens at the playhouses. In terms of live streaming, maybe given opportunity, Minister might just also touch on those also. So they are definitely covered in that area regarding level 3. On the issue of some of the non-contact codes that sporting codes we're talking about here, it would be similar to tennis, athletics, chess, cricket. We have looked at all those that are affected, and there is a schedule that outlines these non-contact sports. And indeed, it does talk to both training as well as matches, but without spectators and at a limited scale, even the level of participation.
You want to add?
Yeah. 1, 2.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. Thank you for the questions. If I may add from the very if I may add from the very first question. The DG, I thought, is going to read the directions related to what he referred to on the creatives. So these directions from the arts and culture point of view were issued in terms of Regulation 4 subsection 10 of the regulations made under section 27(2) of the Disaster Management Act of 2002, Act number 57 of 2002, live streaming of the creative sector services in support of COVID-19. And here we state that in terms of the regulation 37(1), subsection E, read with 39(2), subsection B of the regulations issued in terms of section 27(2) of the National Disaster Management Act of 2002 and published in Government Gazette of number 43364, Government Notice number R608 of 28 May 2020, hereby issue the directions in the schedule. Again here, we start with the purpose of the directions, the amendment of the direction 2 of the direction by the addition after the paragraph the following with provide directions to the arts and culture sector for production using local cast or performers and crew to be applicable for alert level 3. The mitigating measures, amendment of the direction 3 of the direction by addition numbers on mitigating measures. The following mitigating measures for alert level 3 according to subsector are necessary to prevent the spread of COVID-19. The performing arts institutions or playhouses that have relevant infrastructure or facilities used for the creation and production of local content. The mitigating measures here is that these facilities can produce content for streaming and live streaming without audiences, monologues, minimal cost, and technical support required. Production take place in compliance with Regulation 28(2) of the regulations, which requires that a compliance officer to ensure that safety controls are strictly adhered to and designated. It also covers film and television production using local cast, living legends and crew. This will include jobs throughout the value chain of production, post-production such as technical crew of sound engineers, special effects and animators. So we can go on and on, but you'll see that in all these sections, whether it's visual arts, craft and design, whether it's music recordings for local broadcast and so on, they have at the heart of it freelancers. And by the way, freelancers, as we indicated last time, have applied, some of them have applied for the relief fund, and some of them are part of the people who are continuously benefiting out of the fund. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. We'll take last round. If there's any on the line, Ishmael.
Thanks, DG. On the line, we have Max Straydom from Times Live. Over to you, Max.
Yeah, hello. Hi, Minister and DG. Thank you very much. Mark Straydom from Times Live. The question, I'm just going to refer back to the previous question. It wasn't quite answered. We're just seeking clarification. Obviously, we understand non-contact sports can come back in matches. But just particular to contact sports, particularly cricket, rugby and football, from what I'm understanding of the regulations, training is allowed if it's non-contact. Can those sports come back to training even though they are prohibited in matches if that training is simply fitness training and it complies with the regulations? Can contact sports come back to training even though their matches are still not allowed? That is just specific to contact sports. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that the only one, Ishmael?
Yes, DG, that's all.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Eba?
Thank you, DG. Lloyd Bernard from Sports 24 is asking, the football and rugby industries, like many during this difficult time, have been crippled at a professional level over the last 2 months. Am I correct in assuming that under the new regulations, professional rugby and soccer teams can go back to training, but their respective leagues cannot go ahead? Can you please elaborate on the discussions with SA Rugby and SAFA and how their roadmap back to play looks like? Craig Ray from sports editor at the Daily Maverick is asking, Minister asked football to guide him in a briefing several weeks ago. Can you please clarify what return to play protocols football and rugby in particular have submitted? How much guidance is government taken from FIFA and World Rugby on return to play protocols, which has seen the resumption of some leagues and tournaments? And lastly, Jolene van Wyk from Media 24 is asking, will surfing be allowed under level 3? Thank you, DG.
Thank you. I think those are the last questions, and I'm handing over to the Minister.
Thank you. The last question, the DG will take, and the roadmap from the sporting codes which we have been engaging in over a period of time. The last such consultation was yesterday. But to Mark, yes, Mark, you are correct. All sporting codes would be expected back on training. You would realize that our athletes have not been in training, and we do not want to have them out of shape forever. So the process of training would ensue for both contact and non-contact sport. And we are correct to say that from the point of view of non-contact sport, it's both training and resumption and of playing. But from contact sport, it's only at the training level. The DG did mention the sporting codes. On football, to give us their views and so on, we are doing that. We are meeting them continuously. As you know, that there are processes within football itself, between the mother body of football in the country, which is SAFA, and the professional league, the PSL. So we are in consultation, and we'll continue to do that. But as you know, that football is one contact sport, is not open for resumption, as we mentioned now here at the alert level 3, that it's only going to be non-contact sport, which is going to resume play. So, yeah, that's it. And the last two questions, DG is going to take them.
No, thank you very much, Minister. Yes, to answer the question directly, on the issue of, as Floyd was asking about the roadmap, we have a very good working relationship with the sports bodies. Yesterday in the morning, we had a lengthy discussion with the CEOs, as well as the president of SAFA, as well as the doctor of SAFA and PSN, and they were very elaborate on their plans, which it does incorporate also FIFA guidelines on how to deal with this issue of football. But in terms of both rugby, the doctor from the sporting fraternity, after a lot of consultations with epidemiologists and various key personnel from the scientific perspective of what it means to return to play, they clearly outlined some of the core issues that they have addressed relating to the return to play. And I think among some of the things that they were mentioning was, of course, that they all understand that there is no way in which players can just come back and they are not yet ready for that. So they will comply with the testing requirements. In fact, they have moved with very stringent measures that they indicated that it's not just one-time testing, two-time testing, the issues of no one leaving the PSD, as well as every club should be having a doctor. So they have really a comprehensive plan, but he indicated, because it's the various sporting codes working collectively, they will then be able to present to the department these protocols. But the various codes have been also submitting individually, from tennis, cricket, golf. Everyone has been submitting to us, and that is what assisted us a lot in crafting the directions that Minister has read this morning. We are confident that the FIFA, on the side of football, while South Africa is in a unique situation where we're dealing with a situation of spike because it's winter period, as a Minister of Health had indicated, and I think constantly that we are dealing with a very strange situation here, because remember, Europe is getting out of winter, and yet South Africa is entering the winter period where this virus is likely to have a negative, higher impact. So all these, in terms of from the football perspective, was also made clear to us in our engagement that based on that, their protocols also have considered the risk that is associated with the easing and the return to play, while it coincides with a period of likely a spike during winter. So I am confident that all the sporting codes and the federations have done the best they can to adhere to FIFA protocols, and we are going to continue to work with them in this regard. The last question, if I'm correct, this issue, surfing and water and the virus, has been one of the very complex discussions based on scientific versions. There is a version of this virus thriving in cold environments, and therefore then being a risk that people, if they are a group or swimming together, if it is a swimming games, there is a risk. But there are those who say there is chlorine, which attacks and destroys the virus. On the other hand, the issue of surfing, because it's an open water, those issues are the matters that we need to then discuss. For surfing, at least happens where it's individuals who are involved there, and it's an open water environment like on the sea. So we will engage with the surfers associations to deal with the matter. But indeed, as long as it's part of the non-contact sport, they are covered as per the directions that have been indicated and read out by the Minister. I hope I have answered the questions, DG, as raised by Lloyd. Thanks very much.
We have come to the end of our briefing and would like to thank everybody. Oh, there's Nongceba. I thought we were the last ones. Minister, do you want to take some more? Nongceba seems to be having burning question from WhatsApp.
Yes, DG, it's only 3, and I think there might also be a caller on the line.
Oh. We thought we said it's the last, but it's fine.
Sorry, DG. Apologies, DG. They came in as the minister was
Minister of
answering
answering.
the last round.
Okay.
Can I proceed?
Yes, you
Thank
can.
you very much. Craig from Daily Maverick is asking again, just clarity on the issue of golf courses. Are golf courses now open or not? Because they will not open for 1 or 3 pros, or do they have to apply to open? At the moment, it states facilities are only open for professionals to train, but a golf course cannot open for 1 person if there is only 1 pro. The next question is also related. It's from Vickersberger from Netwerk 24. When will non-contact amateur sports be allowed to resume? This includes golf, surfing and tennis. If not under level 3, under which level? And the last question from Evelyn Morris from Caxton Media in Durban. Recreational sports or sports fishing, which can also be used to feed people. What are the regulations about that? Thank you, DG.
Okay, let's then take the last caller.
Thanks, DG. On the line, we have Tony. It's a follow-up. She's from ENCA.
I have a number of follow-ups, actually. The first one is, can the Minister or the DG please explain to us what the definition of professional is? We're being asked this by federations themselves. So will a sport that has a semi-professional league be able to continue, or is it only, for example, men's cricket, football, and rugby that can continue? And then also, what is the latest on OPEX, Operation Excellence contracts for players? We've been told that players haven't signed their contracts yet. And it's been months actually since they've not had contracts. Also, when in these regulations, is there anything provided specifically on when para sport can return? Because there isn't anything specific about that. And also, can the media possibly be provided with a full list just for reporting purposes, so we know which federations or sporting codes are returning? And then, is it possible for sporting codes in hotspots to travel to a non-hotspot area if they want to continue their sport?
Thank you very much. I think, Minister, sorry, you're
Okay.
having a whole
No, that's
pile.
fine.
Okay.
DG, and then I'll come later.
Maybe I must start by the issue of definition of the professional. If you read our regulations, the directions as provided, there is a very thorough professional definition of professional or elite sport, so that we are all on the same understanding of this. I just want to read the directions so that we are all clear about this professional. But these are people who earn a living or get paid for their participation in sport, and that's why we also included the issue of the, as it's saying, operational excellence. These are the elite players who are part of that, but taking a part in international or Olympic events of that caliber. So they are covered, and we are clear about what this professional really mean. There is no ambiguity, and the idea was to avoid what Minister regarded as assumed mass participation and amateur participation or participation for recreational purposes. And that is why the definition and the ability to just clarify what do we mean by professional sport and professionals is being covered at this stage. So we do not have a situation where anybody at this stage is gonna just be waking up and saying, I'm going to play at level 3. The recreational sport also is not included, but if people want for recreational purposes to keep fit and healthy as amateurs, remember that the general directions does provide for people to for purposes of fitness to wake up, and even the restrictions there have been limited in terms of the times that people can be involved in fitness or training or exercises that they can do, as long as they are not in groups or whatever. So professional sport only refers to the sports where the athletes are earning an income through sport, and that is why we are clear around that issue. There is a question that has been raised by Hloni, or that it was the issue of professional and excellence. We are combining both professional as well as elite as part of those sporting athletes that must be allowed to participate. Now, the question by Craig in relation to the golf, as we have indicated, the issue is here at this stage we're talking about professional. And therefore, when we talk about non-contact sport and recreational and having the golf field now open for one person or whatever, we will provide further directions on this matter in clarifying about golf, because golf has been one of the core sports that is now allowed to take place in terms of level 3 as part of the non-contact sport, and the issue of then the numbers on how many people. Remember, sport, the golf course, for instance, first thing, you just need to maintain the golf course, and if they do not have that, they will have a problem. 2, we were looking at the number of players who can be there, because they can play at various areas, and they've got caddies who are involved in this, and all those, but because it's non-contact sport, the directions are clear that they are covered. So Craig, we might have to provide more detail on what you are asking in terms of the numbers, but definitely in level 3, we are having golf as part of the non-contact sport, and was one of the key people who had asked for this opening and opportunity as non-contact sport. Recreational, as I've indicated, at this stage, no, we have not opened for that. Directions are very clear. The reason why professional sport, the process of easing, scientifically is proven that the body needs to adjust. Otherwise, we're going to have professional players who are going to be just waking up. It's level 1. Now they need to go and play. But they have not been training. Their body has not been accustomed to and conditioned to perform at that level. And therefore, then you end up with serious injuries, which will be counterproductive. And remember also that we are dealing with the issue here when we say opening up or easing at level 3. We also have to link this to the economic recovery, and professional sport does generate revenue and everything. So that is why we're starting there, so that we are able to assist the professional bodies to start getting ready and geared towards the opening of competitive games. I'm not sure, Minister, if I've left anything else. The travel to non-hotspots, I think that is very clear in the regulations, the major regulations. Our directions are guided by major regulations, the main regulations. And there is very clear the issue of interface between the hotspot and the non-hotspots is very clear that it should not happen. That is my understanding in terms of regulations, and therefore then you cannot say now with these directions you overrule the regulations just because now it's about sport. If it is from hotspot, the issue is that we cannot afford to have carriers of the virus now transporting it to a hotspot designated area. So we are not opening those floodgates. We are not changing those rules. They stay in force and you cannot use these directions to then contravene that you cannot move from a hotspot to a non-hotspot. You become a higher risk to those who have behaved properly to keep their area as a non-hotspot. So we cannot be then in a situation where we encourage that. When will the contact spot happen? That one, Etloni, is quite clear. Level 3, we are dealing with training and preparations. And then, in all probability, depending on the behavior of the virus and the people, at this stage it's envisaged that a contact spot is possible to be at level 1.
Okay, Minister.
Yeah, just to say that these are draft directions, and even if they've been gazetted, it's not automatic that you are going to wake up in the morning and go and train. You still have to write and make your case before the minister. So that's one thing which we need to be very clear about, that it's not automatic. Secondly, that on the creatives, that back to the question of the relief, we are aware that it's the only area of our work which is remaining now, which we are rounding up, concluding, and we will ensure that we strengthen the communication lines so that people know where they stand. They are not left without actually knowing where the process is of them getting relief. But we are happy that a lot of people have come back after receiving their relief, and they are happy about that, and we're encouraged. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We've come to the end of this briefing, and thank you very much for SABC's support. Our next media briefing will be at 2 o'clock, and we will be hosting the Department of Transport. Thank you very much.